Hello to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world. Welcome to a new cycle here on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. I'm Uyi Agumofwegbe, reminding our viewers that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We begin by telling you that following the dissolution of the Adolphus Wabara-led board of trustees by a faction loyal to the party's new acting national chairman, Abdurrahman Mohammed, the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has inaugurated a new board of trustees to restore confidence, integrity, and unity within the party. The event held at the Federal Capital Territory Administration official residence in Abuja brought together party elders, stakeholders, and political allies as the leadership pledged to begin what it described as a new era of renewed and justice. For details, here is Kabir Hassan's report.
It was an emergency meeting of the People's Democratic Party National Working Committee, a gathering that marked what members described as a turning point in the party's history. The acting national chairman, Abdurrahman Mohammed, said the new board of trustees symbolizes the rebirth of the party, reaffirming its founding principles of justice, fairness, inclusivity, and respect to the rule of law. Abdurrahman noted that the previous board had lost moral balance and credibility, which necessitated the restructuring to restore order and unity within the party.
Today marks another significant turning point in the life of our great party, the People's Democratic Party, PDP. We have come together not merely to inaugurate a new board of trustees, but to renew our faith in the ideals that give birth to this great political family. For justice, fairness, inclusivity, and respect for the rule of law.
The newly inaugurated Board of Trustees is chaired by Senator Mao Onahabunwa, with Isa Dansidi serving as secretary. Both leaders pledges to uphold unity, fairness, and discipline while working closely with the National Working Committee to strengthen internal democracy and restore public trust in the PDP.
And I believe that if we continue in this way, in keeping with our constitution, tenets, abiding by our rules and regulations, our party will definitely be the party that it is known for.
With the theme beginning of new era, the new leadership assured members of its readiness to reform the party structure, promote accountability, and ensure respect for the rule of law. The PDP leadership expressed optimism that the renewed focus on fairness and inclusivity will help reposition the party as a credible alternative in Nigeria democratic space. Kabir Hassan reporting for Global TV News.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has commenced the distribution of sensitive and non-sensitive materials to various local government areas across Anambra State ahead of the governorship election scheduled for Saturday, November 8, 2025. The distribution exercise, which took place at the Central Bank of Nigeria branch in Awka, the state capital, was supervised by the State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Dr. Queen Elizabeth Agu, amid heavy deployment of security personnel.
Dr. Agu noted that INEC had made comprehensive preparations in collaboration with political parties, security agencies, and civil society organizations to guarantee a free, fair, transparent, and credible process, calling on Anambra voters to turn out for the exercise.
I am begging the people of Anambra, please, after all this preparation, everybody has put in something to make sure that this election is what it is. If you do not come out to vote, it's like making a very good food, pot of food, nobody to eat it, it will solve. I beg you, don't stay in the house and be telling people and be saying my candidate is winning. Come and vote for that your candidate.
On his part, Commissioner of Police in charge of election security in Anambra, Abayomi Shogunle, disclosed that the number of security personnel deployed for the poll had been increased from 45,000 to 55,000 officers, with an assurance that the police force had already done critical deployments for the electoral exercise.
And everything that is needed to be put in place to ensure that this happens in terms of security and logistics has been put in place. And part of meeting the timeline is what we are witnessing here today, which is the commencement of the distribution of electoral materials from the Central Bank Awka to all the local government areas in the state.
INEC says 16 candidates from 16 registered political parties are contesting in the governorship election to wrest power from the incumbent governor, and candidates of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, Professor Chukwuma Soludo. Uyi Agbomofuegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
In the meantime, as to the Anambra 2025 governorship election, two major civil society bodies are raising strong concerns about voter apathy, low competitiveness among political parties, and persistent security risks across parts of the state. This comes as the Center for Democracy and Development and the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room briefed the media in Awka on preparations and early warning signs. Anita Patrick will bring us those details subsequently. Let's turn to other stories for you. The Federal Fire Service has announced plans to strengthen its partnership with the Tertiary Education Trust Fund to enhance fire safety in Nigeria tertiary institutions. This came to the fore when officials of the Fire Service, led by the Controller General, paid a courtesy visit to the TED Fund in Abuja. Global TV correspondent Ramsey Enoch Agbo brings us details.
Speaking during the visit, Controller General of the Federal Fire Service, Samuel Adeyemi, highlighted the need for improved fire prevention measures in universities and colleges. He proposed closer collaboration between both agencies in the installation of firearms, smoke detectors, and extinguishers in all buildings funded by TED Fund, as well as regular safety inspection.
That we have with TED Fund. The more 2024, about 3 federal universities hostels was gutted by fire. The investment TED Fund is doing is large. Then me, myself, and the management, we sat down that we need to collaborate with TED Fund.
The TED Fund's Executive Secretary, Aksoni Echono, commended the initiative, describing fire safety as essential and pledging to ensure that all tertiary institutions under the fund's project incorporate fire prevention facilities, including mini fire stations where possible.
Fire protection is so essential. Bringing the classification of the buildings, ensuring that you have fire protection devices, the water hydrant, fire hydrants, the sprinkler systems for the bigger buildings, smoke detectors, and all the other facilities that have come so integral. In many countries, it's a prerequisite. So you cannot use any building unless you have those in place. But more importantly, you also need to educate the people. Educating people on the cautiousness and what to do in the event of fire is something that should not only be limited to us and our premises, but to all our beneficiary institutions.
The collaboration is expected to go a long way to prevent fire outbreak in and around TED Fund facilities and save the lives of both staff and students as well as properties of tertiary institutions in Nigeria. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
As to Anambra 2025 governorship election, two major civil society bodies are raising strong concerns about voter apathy, low competitiveness among political parties, and persistent security risks across parts of the state. This comes as the Center for Democracy and Development and the Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room briefed the media in Awka on preparations and early warning signs. Anita Patrick, our correspondent who is on the ground in Anambra State, gives us details.
From Awka OCA, the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD West Africa, says despite a 98.8% permanent voter card collection rate, Anambra still faces the real threat of low turnout at the polls. The organization says it has deployed over 178 observers across the 21 local government areas, and their early findings show worrying voter apathy made worse by weak voter mobilization from political parties and unresolved internal crisis within many of them. CDD also warned of persistent security concerns, especially in Ihiala, Nnewi South, Orumba South, and border communities like Lilu, Azia, and Amoka, areas where violence and weak oversight of vigilantes could depress voter participation.
One of the problems we have in this society, they are our politicians, that if we have them have a change of attitude, at least we'll be more than 70% up in our performance.
On the information front, CDD flagged widespread misinformation and hate speech. 7 major patterns were identified for manipulation of security narratives and religious divides, to distorted campaign messages and gender-based attacks encouraging women's political participation.
While it is ordinarily happening to note INEC's report of a 98.8% PVC collection rate, there is still some concern that this will not translate into a high enough voter turnout.
To address this, the group has activated its Election Analysis Center to track and counter disinformation in real time. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Civil Society Room is also expressing concern about turnout, while acknowledging the calmer pre-election environment compared to previous cycles. The group says Anambra still ranks among states with the lowest voter participation. The Situation Room has deployed field observers and says it will closely monitor ballot integrity, campaign finance, misinformation, security deployment, and inclusivity, especially for persons with disabilities. Both organizations say confidence in the new INEC leadership will deepen heavily on early deployment of election materials, proper management of beavers, timely result transmission, and transparent collation. Security deployment is massive. 45,000 police personnel, numbers civil society groups say reflect wider weaknesses in Nigeria's democratic process, even as they call for professionalism and non-intimidation of voters. With over 2.8 million registered voters and 5,718 polling units, civil society is urging Ndi Anambra to come out and vote, and for political actors to put democratic integrity first. Both the CDD and the Situation Room say tomorrow's governorship election will be a critical test for the state and for Nigeria's electoral system. From Awka, Anambra State, Annie T. Patrick, reporting for Global TV News.
Ministry of Foreign Affairs briefed members of the diplomatic corps on the reform trajectory and the administration of President Bola Tinubu. The event was attended by diplomats from different countries at the ministry's headquarters in Abuja. Global Television's Foreign Affairs correspondent Ramsey Enoch Agbo has details.
The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Dunoma Umar Ahmed, who represented the Minister, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, says the removal of fuel subsidy marked another pivotal milestone in Nigeria's fiscal reform journey. The briefing was a follow-up to the Minister's invitation of Wednesday, 7th August, where he intimated members of the diplomatic corps on the programs and measures being implemented by the federal government aimed at achieving better life for all Nigerians. He said monies from subsidy is now being redirected towards social investment, infrastructure development, and education.
Previously costing over 4 trillion annually, the subsidy had become economically unsustainable and disproportionately beneficial to a narrow segment of the population. Its removal freed substantial fiscal resources that are now being redirected towards social investment, infrastructure development, and education. The savings have been reinvested through initiatives such as the Infrastructure Support Fund for states, the renewed Hope Conditional Cash Transfer Scheme, and targeted support for transport, and food security program.
The minister also said national security remains a top priority for the Tinubu administration and that there is a comprehensive approach combining military strength, intelligence, diplomacy, and community engagement.
Under this administration, the government is taking decisive actions to stabilize the macroeconomic environment, expand social investments, and improve national security. The government remains focused on national prosperity and economic resilience, continuing to implement far-reaching and beneficial reforms that are beginning to yield the desired results.
The minister assured the diplomats of the determination of Nigeria to continue to cherish and value the cordial relationship between her and individual countries, as well as international organizations. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
The 30th National Council on Works has opened in Ado-Ekiti, Ekiti State Capital, with Governor Abiodun Oyebanji declaring the event open and reaffirming his administration's commitment to what he described as a road revolution that enhances connectivity, access to markets, and community development. Representing the Minister of Works, David Umahi, Minister of State Mohammed Bello Garanyo commended President Bola Tinubu and Governor Oyebanji for their commitment to infrastructure renewal, describing their collaboration as a model of federal-state synergy. The council, chaired by Minister of State, reviewed 67 memoranda, adopting 62 with key resolutions, including national monitoring and evaluation framework. Let's turn to Benue State now, where the government is urging owners of demolished properties along the ongoing Makurdi 9th Mile Road project to present valid building approvals from the State Urban Development Board and Town Planning Department. The government says this will enable affected persons benefit from the ongoing compensation exercise. Global Television correspondent Felicity Inderi now reports.
The Benue State government has begun clearing structures to pave way for the dualization of Federal Road from Wurukum in Makurdi to 9th Mile in Enugu State, a project covering over 500 kilometers. Following the demolition, residents and property owners, including the newly commissioned Tinubu Campaign Organization and the African Democratic Congress, ADC, have expressed concern over the exercise. Responding to the complaints, Director of Civil Engineering and Desk Officer for Compensation, Engineer Solomon Wombo, appealed to affected persons with valid documents and approved building plans from the State Urban Development Board to present them for compensation.
Let me cite an example. We have destroyed Ashafa filling station. Why is he not complaining? We have destroyed Zenith Bank. Why is he not complaining? We have destroyed the Atorutio estate. He is not complaining. We have destroyed Ecobank. He is not complaining. We are going to destroy Kabis now. Kabis will not complain. They have presented valid document of a development approval.
For the issue of demolition at that APC premises and ADC. ADC for sure, all of them know they have developed outside the property line. All those developments that were removed were right on the right of way.
Some property owners say they were already informed about the road expansion and support the government's efforts.
Our fence has been affected by this demolition, but as painful as it is, we were actually marked for this demolition and we were aware.
Others, particularly in the Kanshio area, claim that the demolition came without adequate notice.
We then come to mark the house, then tell us, say, then go pay us. My children go there, go right. 1 naira, they no pay. Or even yesterday, when they come to destroy something there, we come, then I go there, I go meet them. I say, I go come this side. They say, no. I leave all my load. Now, so they scatter them.
As the dualization of the Makurdi Otukpo 9th Mile Enugu Road continues, the government maintains that only the resident with valid document will be duly compensated. In Makurdi, Felicity Indere reporting for Global Television News.
Watching the live broadcast of News Cycle here on Global Television. When the rest of the news returns, CAF to host awards on November 19. We'll have those details from the world of sports as well as stories from foreign and business segments to stay with us. Let's now turn to business for you. The federal government has unveiled new agricultural reforms aimed at ending hunger, boosting food production, and reducing post-harvest losses, estimated at over $10 billion annually, in line with President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda for food security and national prosperity. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, and Minister of State, Senator Sabi Abdullahi, announced these through a signed statement. Kyari said agriculture remains the backbone of Nigeria's economy and the key to national renewal, noting that the government's ongoing reforms were designed to end hunger, ensure food sufficiency, and drastically reduce post-harvest losses, draining the nation's agricultural value chain. Chief Executive of the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, Benga Komolafe, has expressed optimism that Nigeria's crude oil output will soon witness a significant boost following the completion of a new offshore production facility. Komolafe expressed his excitement in a statement issued by the Commission's Head of Media and Strategic Communications, Eniola Akinkochu, after an official visit to Dubai Dry Docks World in the United Arab Emirates. And out of the foreign scene, fears of a fracturing global resolve loomed over climate talks in the Brazilian Amazon as world leaders acknowledged their failure to contain global warming to agreed limits. Heads of states and government met in the city of Belém ahead of the United Nations COP30 conference, which is set to take place without the United States, one of the nations most responsible for planet warming emissions. Zarau Nasir completes the report.
Opening the leaders' gathering, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres set the tone by declaring that the world has failed in its promise to hold long-term warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius since the pre-industrial era.
Every fraction of a degree means more hunger, displacement, and loss, especially for those least responsible. This is moral failure and deadly negligence. Yes, the new Excellencies, the United Nations will not give up on the 1.5 degrees goal. Because another truth is evident. We have never been better equipped to fight back. A clean energy revolution has taken hold.
Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Browne, railed against what she called the large polluters who continue to deliberately destroy the world's marine and terrestrial environments with poisonous fossil fuel gases.
I'm not going to speak on the issue of the loss and damage fund, because all of us should hold our heads down in shame, because having established this fund a few years ago in Sharm el-Sheikh, its capital base is still under $800 million, while Jamaica reels from damage in excess of $7 billion US, not to mention Cuba, Haiti, or the Bahamas.
Brazil hopes COP30, which officially begins on Monday, can reaffirm that climate change remains a global priority despite wars, trade tensions, economic uncertainty, and the chilling effect of the Trump administration. Zahra Nasser, reporting for Global TV News.
Zahra Nasser, we're grateful for the updates on COP30. Let's turn to sports quickly. The Confederation of African Football has announced that the 2025 edition of the CAF Awards will take place in Rabat, Morocco on Wednesday, November 19, 2025. A statement posted on the CAF website says the event scheduled to begin at 7 p.m. Nigerian time who celebrates Africa's top footballers, coaches, clubs, and national teams for their outstanding performances over the past year. And that's News Cycle for you. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm Uyi Agumofwegbe. I'll see you again.